Hey guys, welcome to part 10 of What If Yuji Was an Uchiha. Last time we left off after Yuji failing to beat Jogo, leading to Sukuna taking control and destroying Shibuya, killing thousands, and Yuji unlocking the Mangekyo Sharingan, witnessing it. With everyone caught up, let's begin. Elsewhere, after descending the stairs and coming face to face with a swarm of transfigured humans, Nanami begins to daydream about Malaysia. He wishes he could have built a house on a secluded beach and read the countless books he never got around to finishing. Nanami then remembers that he has to go save Megumi, and he wonders about the whereabouts and conditions of Maki and Naobito before admitting to himself that he is tired. Despite thinking that he has done enough, Nanami continues to fight, fiercely slicing through the transfigured humans with his blunt sword, all the while imagining himself enjoying his time at the beach. The commotion of his battle draws the attention of Yuji, who runs down the hallway towards the source of the noise. Despite being battered by the transfigured humans, Nanami persists and eventually cuts down the entire horde by himself. He then senses a familiar hand touching his back and realizes that it is Mahito. The cursed spirit tells Nanami that he was present the whole time and asks if the sorcerer has any last words. Meanwhile, Yuji arrives at the floor where the two are and watches them from behind. Instead of replying, Nanami looks down and speaks with Habara. He wonders why he returned to being a sorcerer with just a vague reason for it being worthwhile and asks Habara what he was trying to do. An illusion of Habara appears in front of Nanami. Nanami tells Habara that he doesn't want to end up cursing Yuji. Mahito notices Yuji and is amused to see him as the young sorcerer calls out to Nanami and stumbles towards them. Habara then points behind Nanami, at Yuji. In his last moments, Nanami looks and smiles at his protege and entrusts him with the task of exorcising Mahito. Mahito promptly kills Nanami by exploding the top half of his body into bloody pieces, shocking Yuji. Enraged in the next moment, Yuji screams at Mahito and rushes at him to fight, reactivating his Mangekyo from the emotions. Mahito calmly flicks a small transfigured human at Yuji and transforms it into a wall that blocks his path. Yuji, still blinded with rage as his love transforms into hatred, fueling his Mangekyo Sharingan, slices through the wall with rage and in a clean X motion. As Yuji walks through the hole, spikes protrude from behind, however Yuya uses Chidori stream to vaporize them, without even looking, eyes locked on Mahito. Using soul multiplicity, Mahito follows up with body repel, unleashing a long transfigured monster that breaks through the wall and attempts to bite Yuji with its giant mouth. However, Yuji uses a fireball jutsu to incinerate it. Mahito suddenly leaps through the smoke, transforming a human into a razor-sharp flail, swinging it at Yuji's neck, however Yuji effortlessly slices it in 3 cuts. But it explodes into 28 bullets of flesh, accelerating towards Yuji. Using his heightened Mangekyo senses, Yuji weaved between them like they were in slow motion. Anticipating Yuji to dodge, the chunks reform in Mahito's hand, forming a massive blade, which clashed with Yuji's blade. Mahito then locked his flesh hand with Yuji's blade, encapsulating it in flesh, however Yuji channeled lightning style through the blade, making the blade and Mahito's arm explode and also leaving Mahito's left side completely numb. Yuji would then use Mahito to jump away, kicking him back in the process, then firing a fireball jutsu, which Mahito would just barely block with a transfigured human wall. As the flames dispersed, revealing Mahito's defense, Yuji activated his left Mangekyo Sharingan, casting the newly acquired shadow manipulation ability. Dark tendrils extended from Yuji's hand, infiltrating the transfigured human wall and wrapping around Mahito's limbs. With a flick of his fingers, Yuji manipulated the shadows to constrict Mahito, restricting his movements. Yuji, after utilizing this mysterious power, felt an overwhelming sense of unfamiliarity and understanding simultaneously. he noted to himself that, with his newfound abilities, he knew nothing and everything all at once. Sensing an opportunity, Yuji swiftly performed a shadow step, teleporting behind Mahito and launching a barrage of kunai infused with lightning style. Mahito, still recovering from the surprise, attempted to transfigure the incoming projectiles but found himself overwhelmed. The lightning-infused kunai pierced through his defenses, causing him to stagger. Seizing the moment, Yuji charged forward, Raijin in hand, prepared to deliver a decisive blow. As the lightning-infused kunai approached, Mahito swiftly transfigured parts of his body into a rubbery, elastic substance, causing the projectiles to make Mahito's body stretch, then retract back. Flinging the kunais back at Yuji, however, Yuji tosses a perfectly timed kunai at the first kunai, causing a chain reaction, hitting all the kunai of course, making them all miss him. Meanwhile, Mahito transformed his body into a liquid-like substance, flowing through the cracks in his bindings, then reforming from the puddle. As Mahito stood within the light source, confident that Yuji couldn't appear behind him, he taunted his adversary about the lackluster attempt. Unfazed, Yuji ingeniously utilized his shadow manipulation. Swiftly tossing his sword at Mahito's head, the cursed spirit dodged the attack, scoffing at what he perceived as a feeble move. Little did he know, Yuji had a trick up his sleeve. With impeccable precision, Yuji teleported to the shadow of his airborne sword, catching it effortless. In a flash, Chidori surged through the blade, piercing Mahito's chest and significantly weakening his soul power. Locking eyes with the cursed spirit, Yuji unleashed a genjutsu, plunging Mahito into a nightmarish void. The monstrous entity with menacing eye holes, a long tengu nose, and other nightmarish features loomed over Mahito, crushing him mercilessly in the illusion. Despite the gruesome scene, Mahito found himself mostly intact upon returning to reality. Before he could regain his bearings, Yuji seized the opportunity. Exploiting Mahito's disoriented state, Yuji swiftly sliced him in half above the legs. The imminent strike towards Mahito's head was interrupted as two reinforced transfigured humans grabbed Yuji from behind. Undeterred, Yuji used Shadow Step to fuse with the shadows of the transfigured humans, unleashing a series of fireballs using the Phoenix Flower Jutsu, tearing through the transfigured humans. Having eluded the grip of the transfigured humans, Yuji noticed Mahito was no longer anywhere to be seen, so found himself on the hunt for him within the expansive station. Racing through its corridors at lightning speeds, he abruptly halted upon discovering a room teeming with at least 50 reinforced transfigured humans. Determined not to be slowed down, Yuji activated his left eye's shadow manipulation ability, conjuring numerous shadowy hands from below to ensnare the monster's feet. With the creatures immobilized, Yuji swiftly executed the hand signs for a fire dragon jutsu, unleashing a torrent of flames that engulfed the transfigured humans in the targeted rooms. Despite the destructive display, Mahito's presence remained elusive. After clearing multiple other rooms, Yuji was finally able to spot Mahito in the distance, employing his shadow-stepping prowess to materialize from the cursed spirit's shadow and decapitate him. However, an unsettling feeling lingered. Surveying his surroundings, Yuji detected Mahito's presence elsewhere. Turning back down the corridor, he witnessed Mahito charging towards Kyujiseki with lethal intent. Reacting swiftly, Yuji exploited his shadow step ability once more, appearing behind Kyujiseki and pulling her to safety just in time. Unfortunately, Mahito's attack found a new target, Yuji himself. The transformed hand, now a deadly scythe, impaled Yuji through the back, a painful sacrifice made to shield his ally from Mahito's malevolent assault. Yuji's right arm hung limp and nearly severed, rendering it useless and incapacitating any offensive maneuvers. Blood gushed from the grievous wound as Mahito, tasting his scythe hand, prepared to strike again. In a desperate move, Yuji conjured a barrier of shadows, cleaving the room in two and providing a brief break in the fight. Seizing the moment, Yuji turned his attention to Kyujiseki, employing shadow threads to delicately stitch his mangled arm. Utilizing a fire-style jutsu, he cauterized the wound, earning a disgusted reaction from Kyujiseki. With the makeshift repair, Yuji dispelled the shadow wall and unleashed a fireball jutsu, met by Mahito's transfigured defense. Unable to wield Raijin and restricted to using Chidori with his left arm, Yuji relentlessly pressed the assault. Blurry vision, a consequence of his overused Mangekyo Sharingan, went unnoticed by Yuji as he continued employing Shadow Step to deliver successive attacks. Despite landing a few slices on Mahito, Yuji's light continued to dull. With a final, powerful strike, Mahito executed a black flash on Yuji's face, sending him hurtling backward. Using shadows to arrest his descent, Yuji found himself pushed to the limit. Witnessing Kyujiseki enter the fray, he recognized her vulnerability and, sacrificing more of his own light, stepped in to shield her from harm. Perceiving Kyujiseki as an impediment, Mahito initiated his domain expansion, self-embodiment perfection within Mahito's domain. Yuji and Kyujiseki found themselves at the mercy of Mahito's idol transfiguration, a threat that loomed over them. With Sukuna housed within him, Yuji remained immune to the effects of idol transfiguration. Focused on protecting Kyujiseki, Yuji sought a way to escape the perilous situation. Recalling Gojo's teachings about domain clashes, Yuji realized that overpowering the domain was their only chance for escape. Desperation and fear welled up within him, prompting Yuji to form the cross-hand sign, uttering the words domain expansion. Tsukuyomi. In a clash of domains, half the sky turned into a white void as Yuji's newly manifested domain overlapped with Mahito's. Within this altered reality, Yuji discovered a godlike control over everything. He harnessed this power to heal his eyes, restoring their light, and mended the wounds of both himself and Kyujiseki. Although the domains were evenly matched, Yuji's domain proved inefficient, draining most of his cursed energy to the point where he couldn't even activate his Sharingan. Despite their escape from Mahito's immediate threat, the toll on Yuji was apparent as the drain on his cursed energy left him vulnerable and weakened. Without his weapons and cursed energy, Yuji found himself at a disadvantage against Mahito. Despite his naturally strong body and the healing of his previous injuries, Yuji struggled to keep up with Mahito's attacks. However, he managed to land a black flash on Mahito's face, sending him crashing through the roof to the surface below. As Yuji jumped through the hole, he witnessed Mahito getting back up, heavily injured but overjoyed. Mahito, having experienced his second black flash, underwent a profound transformation, evolving into his final form, which he named Instant Spirit Body of Distorted Killing. Feeling reborn, Mahito asked Yuji to wish him a happy birthday. Mocking Mahito's newfound revelation, Yuji realized that Mahito had transcended beyond his previous forms. As the two resumed their battle on the surface, Yuji's superhuman punches proved ineffective against Mahito's toughened body. Mahito, armed with spike-like elbow blades, inflicted slashes on Yuji, who struggled against the enhanced strength of his opponent. Mahito, seizing Yuji by the face, slammed him into the ground, creating a massive crater. Despite the severity of the injuries, Yuji stood back up, determined to defeat Mahito. Recognizing that only a black flash infused with maximum cursed energy could defeat Mahito, Yuji was pushed to his limits. However, Mahito's relentless attacks, combined with his own weakened state, made the situation increasingly dire. In a moment of desperation, Yuji's left leg began to shake from fear, and Mahito sought to capitalize on this vulnerability. As Mahito attacked, the damage he sustained from the black flash and domain expansion hindered his movements. Yuji, aware of Mahito's weakened state, focused on countering with a black flash-infused punch. The battle raged on, with both fighters demonstrating incredible resilience and determination. In a strategic move, Mahito kicked up a wave of water to obstruct Uchiha's vision. Despite this obstacle, Yuji charged cursed energy in his right fist, breaking through the water. The two clashed in a high-stakes confrontation, with Mahito rebounding off the crater walls and Yuji preparing for a decisive punch. Mahito, implementing a countermeasure, partially deactivated his instant spirit body of distorted killing on one side to thwart Uchiha's punch. However, a delayed impact caused by divergent fist struck Mahito's left side, disrupting his counterattack, allowing Yuji to duck under Mahito's missed attack and prepare to deal the final blow. While the cursed spirit aims his right elbow blade at Yuji, intent on extending it to pierce Yuji. Suddenly Yuji reactivates his main Gekyo, making Mahito believe Yuji will use Shadow Step to teleport behind him, so anticipates the attack, slashing the air behind himself. However, Yuji never teleported, telling Mahito he didn't have enough cursed energy to use his eyes. Taking advantage of Mahito's distracted state, Yuji strikes the curse with his maximum cursed energy Black Flash. The immense power of the punch blasts Mahito out of the crater and forces him out of his instant spirit body of distorted killing form. Weakened and heavily injured, Mahito tries to regurgitate his stockpiled transfigured humans, only to realize he ran out of them. As Mahito begins to despair, Yuji stands over him and admits that the two are the same, despite his previous denials. He declares his sole intention of continuing to kill Mahito henceforth, no matter what form the cursed spirit takes, even if he is reborn. Mahito flees out of fear, with Yuji slowly pursuing. In an imaginary snowy forest, Mahito is a rabbit running from a pack of wolves led by a white wolf that symbolically represents Yuji, before finally tripping over after twisting his ankle. As Yuji walks up to him, the special grade cries out in horror and begins flinging snow at Yuji, fruitlessly trying to stop him. Yuji then punches down on Mahito, and while he misses the strike, he then kicks Mahito away. Injured even more, Mahito struggles to crawl away when suddenly a person appears before him, who is revealed to be Pseudo-Geto. His sudden appearance surprises the other two, and standing over Mahito, Pseudo-Geto asks if the cursed spirit needs saving. Due to being out of cursed energy, like Kanon, Yuji is unable to stop Kenjaku from absorbing Mahito and reviving the past sorcerers he had made a contract with and prepared bodies for. Suddenly Choso and his brothers would arrive and start to confront Kenjaku, however he simply toys with them. After Yoraum's arrival and intervention, Choso reveals that Yuji is his brother, which Yuji didn't expect. However, found it more believable than Kanon due to seeing how similar their core was using his Sharingan when fighting them. Everything else goes the same, with Yuki arriving and Kenjaku escaping by releasing several cursed spirits, to continue his plans to revive the Age of Heian. Okay guys, this is the end of this part of What If Yuji Was an Uchiha. If you enjoyed, leave a like and comment, as well as subscribing with notifications enabled. With that out the way, this is Demonic Saiyan saying bye.